Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yakaturamaseshmandhalapati Shreni Sadhatutva Yakaturamaseshmandhalapati Shreni Sadhatutva Bhutva Dina Ganesha Karunaya Kapina Kantha Shrita Bhutva Dina Ganesha Karunaya Kapina Kantha Shrita Gopi Bhavana Samritabhi Lahari Kalola Magnamuhu Gopi Bhavana Samritabhi Lahari Kalola Magnamuhu Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyuga Shri Jiva Gopalaka 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Guna Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Guna Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Shri Shraddha Goswami ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaura Premanande. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who kicked off all association of aristocracy as insignificant. In order to deliver the poor conditioned souls, they accepted loincloth, treating themselves as mendicants. But they are always merged in the ecstatic ocean of the gopis' love for Krishna, and bathe always and repeatedly in the waves of that ocean. Hari Hari Bol. So with this meditation, we return to the topic of dedication that we started off this week. The topic of dedication. The idea, we said the topic of the dedication, the idea of giving. Why giving? Because when we come to spiritual life, we create a depth, an unimaginable depth. The spiritual master is guiding us, is picking us up from the ocean of material suffering. It is guiding us back home, back to the lotus feet of Krishna. And that creates definitely a gap, a depth. And Srila Prabhupada explained that actually there is no way that we can ever repay this debt, because what the spiritual master is giving doesn't have any price in this world. It doesn't have a price. The value, there is nothing in this material world that can come to the value of this service that the Guru is rendering unto us. So what Srila Prabhupada explained, and Srila Prabhupada also said that on one hand we cannot repay, but on the other hand it said that you shouldn't take it gratis. What the spiritual master is giving, you should not take it gratis. No, you should pay back. You have to pay for it. You must give. And what we must give, we saw last time, we can give at different levels according to our realization and according to our level of attachment. But ultimately we must give service. We must give service and we must give dedication to the path of sadhana that the spiritual master is giving us. So we spoke about this last time. We saw how dedication means giving, it means sacrificing a little bit or more of ourselves. It means commitment, it means loyalty, it means gratitude, and it implies that we focus on the object of our dedication. So we focus on the order of the spiritual master. We focus on the mission. So this time we are going to explore something which is part of this topic, but something which we face in our life. I think somebody had brought it up last time when we were discussing as part of dedication, is the obstacles to our dedication, because we face obstacles. I think it was Advaita Krishna Prabhu last time who said that initially when we join Krishna consciousness, we are very dedicated and very enthusiastic. Of course, that enthusiasm many times is not very deep. It's excitement, overexcitement. But as the years pass, sometimes our enthusiasm and dedication dwindles a little bit. And it doesn't apply just over years, but it also can happen when we take up a service. We take up some service somewhere, and somehow or other, after some time, the dedication is kind of, we are finding a hard time to dedicate ourselves. So we want to explore this a little bit because it is important. There is an instance. I was looking, there's a book called Life with Srila Prabhupada by one of his disciples. And there is an account which is reported here. I will read this. In another letter, also from India, a devotee holding a responsible post wrote to Srila Prabhupada to say that he was thinking of resigning. God brothers were always slighting him and fighting with him, he said. And they even claimed that Srila Prabhupada had a belittling attitude towards him. So he wanted to resign from his post and just do some simple anonymous work. While hearing the part of the letter about how even Srila Prabhupada belittled him, Srila Prabhupada smiled compassionately. I could see that Prabhupada loved the devotee, even if maybe a spiritual master. He did say something belittling. But the resignation part of the letter drew fire from Srila Prabhupada, who refused to consider it. Then Srila Prabhupada spoke and he said, dedicate your life to Krishna, he said. What is this resignation? How can you speak of resignation from a Krishna conscious duty? Krishna says, after many, many births, one comes to the knowledge of Krishna. So how can you speak of resignation? You should think, it is my father's business. I have to do it. Devotees who speak of resignation have not realized the importance of what we are doing. So this is Srila Prabhupada's response here to a devotee who was finding difficulties in the service. And as a solution, she thought to resign. Let me stop, not do it anymore. And how many times this happens. But Prabhupada is pointing out that we got that devotional service after, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Maham Prapadyate. After many, 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 many births, we cannot even count the number of births that we have been rotting in this material world. And we were fortunate enough that we met the disciplic succession, we met the spiritual master, and he has given us two things. One, he has given us a sadhana to perform every day. And next, he has given us a service, a chance to engage ourselves under the spiritual energy, to escape the material entanglement. So we should value that so much. And there should be absolutely no question of becoming discouraged. Yet it does happen. Our dedication sometimes becomes a bit diminished. So let us discuss what are those factors? What are those factors which can hamper our sense of dedication? There are two areas, as we said. There is the sadhana, and there is the seva. So let us look a little bit at the sadhana. What is it that could hamper our sadhana? What is it that somehow stops us sometimes to do as much as we would like to do, or to that sometimes we see some devotees actually somehow give up altogether. So what is it that hampers that dedication? Would anyone like to contribute to this discussion?
Anarthas, Mataji.
Anarthas, oh, they are always the culprit. This is the anarthas, yes. So that is good. That is an answer. Yes, anarthas. They are unwanted things. Anartha, unwanted things. Yes, Prabhupada said sometimes they pull us back. We are trying to climb. Sometimes there's an image which is given of somebody climbing up a hill. We are climbing up a hill. That is the hill of Shraddha to Prema. The hill of Shraddha to Prema, it starts, Shraddha is in the valley at the bottom, and then we start climbing. There is Sadhu Sangha, it's a little higher. Then you keep walking, there is Bhajana Kriya. Then you keep walking, and then comes Anartha Nivritti, and it's like a cliff. It's going up very steep, Anartha Nivritti. And then we arrive at the top. And what is the top of the hill? That is Nishtha, when we become fixed up. And from the time we reach Nishtha, then the rest of the journey is on the other side of the hill, and it's going downhill. It's going much faster and much easier. There is Ruchi, Asakti, and then for the very fortunate ones, there is Bhava, and then the ocean of Prema. But what happens is this first part, going up to Nishtha, that is not easy. And it is sometimes an image is given of a devotee who is climbing that hill and is having a very heavy backpack. There is a backpack. We're carrying a backpack. You know, when you go backpacking, you carry a backpack and it's so heavy. It goes all the way up the head. You see sometimes the backpackers, they have this kind of thing. It's above the head and all the way down below the buttocks. They have this huge bag. And then on top of it, there are bullets. on the feet. And so we are climbing already, it's not easy. And on top of it, these anarthas, they act like a big backpack, heavy bags we are carrying. And maybe also something on the head, why not? Like a Brijbasi lady, you have a water pot on the head, you have a backpack in the bag, and you have the bullets on the feet. So yes, and these impressions from our previous existences, they are pulling us back. Yes, that is true. And sometimes it feels very heavy. And this comes according to time. There are some time cycles. There are certain times during our life when everything seems easy. Some good periods when these reactions, mostly from sinful activities, although pious activities can also hamper our devotional life sometimes, but usually impious activities, they weight us down, and they come in cycles. Sometimes we are in a good period and everything is favorable. So we chant, we serve, we dance in the kirtan, everything is wonderful. And then suddenly there is a turn in the, what do you say, in the time and the astrological positions. And suddenly there is a period, a negative period in which we get all kinds of reactions. Of course, as devotees who are initiated, we are not supposed to be under karma, and we are not. But Srila Prabhupada explains that a shadow of our karma is used by Krishna for our own purification. So sometimes periods come when everything becomes difficult. So yes, so this hampers our dedication in the sense that there is a difficulty which is like so thick. The mind is disturbed, or there are all kinds of things happening around us which are reactions of our past activities which are disturbing. But mostly the mind becomes very disturbed. We sit for chanting, two things can happen when you sit for chanting. Is the mind is peaceful and you just chant. And then at some other periods, the mind just is not peaceful. It's full of negative emotions, it's full of negative thoughts, it's full of grudges, it's full, something has happened. So this is anartha, very difficult, yes. What else could hamper?
Lack of proper association, Mataji.
Lack of proper association, yes, this is very important, because we are nothing on our own. Although we think a lot of ourselves, but we are nothing on our own. There is no, we don't have the power. In this age of Kali, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached Sankirtan. Sankirtan means together. We do kirtan, which includes our sadhana, together. This congregational chanting alone is very difficult. The material nature is not cooperative in this age. The lower modes are always prominent. Passion, ignorance. That's what everything is made of, including our mind, our body. So the way to actually counteract that is to come together. We come together, we chant together, we hear together, and then power is generated. So the lack of association can actually destroy our spiritual life. So yes, association very much required. Is that what you said, the lack of association, or you said improper association?
Yes, Mataji, lack of association.
Lack of association, yes. Yes, what else can hamper?
Mataji, material attachments.
Oh, yes, Sitarani. Material attachments. Yes. And again, it's like the anarthas. Sometimes there are waves. So we have some material attachments. What can these material attachments be? Attachment to family, for example. What can be some other material attachments?
Attachments to a different sense objects, Mataji.
And enjoyment.
Sense object, and who else said something?
Mataji, enjoyment, material enjoyment.
Enjoyment. Yes, yes. We want some good food. Some devotees are unable to give up eating in restaurants somehow or other. Have to go out. Cannot stop it. So we can be attached to all kinds of things. Either we are attached to the material world through the senses. So some people like to hear something. They can't help it. They have to go to see some orchestra, or they have to hear some kind of music, or they are attached to something. Some people are attached. The tongue, of course, is very, very disturbing. People like sightseeing. Even after becoming devotees, somehow they have to buy a ticket to the Caribbean or to Hawaii or to all these places which are said to be heavenly. So this is attachment to enjoyment. We want to go to a place where it's warm and it's beautiful and there is the sea and you can swim and you can do surfing. What did Prabhupada say about the surfers? Prabhupada said, what are they doing? Prabhupada saw that the people doing surfing, on the waves of the ocean in California. He saw them surfing. He said, what are they doing there? The devotees said, they are surfers, Prabhupada. They are surfers. And Prabhupada said, sufferers? They are sufferers. And then he explained that, they like so much to play in the water. Next life, they will get full opportunity. They will take birth in the water, and then they can swim to their heart's content all the time. So, yes, we are attached to sightseeing. We are attached to many kinds of comforts, foods, dressing. Some people spend so much time shopping. So we are attached to sense gratification. What to speak of sex life? And some people are attached to sex life. They cannot give it up. So this diminishes our determination for devotional service. Yes, it hampers the dedication. It wastes the time as well. Takes the time out. There's 24 hours a day. So instead of having that much for devotional service, the sense gratification has to, eats up the time. And it's not only eating up the time, sense gratification brings about the covering of tamas and rajas. The more you gratify, the more rajas is growing. And then one feels, tired, and one feels heavy. So it drags one down. And Prabhupada always said that sense gratification and self-realization go very ill together. There are two opposite directions. Yes. We like to meet friends. We like to talk. We like to go to the ice cream parlor. So many things are there. What else?
Mataji, understanding the seriousness, being still lazy.
Lazy. Oh, yeah, lazy. This is the tamas. This is the tamas. Very lazy. apathy. We said this the other time, that apathy, this feeling of laziness, not wanting, not feeling like being in action. This is the opposite of dedication. Dedication means fired up, ready. I'm ready. And the one who is lazy is never ready. But we'll do it later. We'll do it later. This is called, what do they call it? Procrastination. Whatever could be done now is never done. We'll do it later, later, later. So that is the influence of the tamasic mode. Yes. What else will hamper our dedication to our sadhana?
Mataji, I guess sometimes the mind feels a bit bored after we've been doing the same service, or after we've been in the same position for a while. So like the mind likes excitement and, rajasic.
Yes. The mind wants some excitement. Yes, we want some excitement. Anything else which hampers our sadhana?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Other than individual made all these anarthas what we discussed, there may be something happened, the result of a past anartha, like some disaster happened in family, maybe finance problem or losing some family member. So I don't know what sort of anartha is that, and that is also causing this problem.
Okay, when there are big problems which happen in our life, somebody dies or we lose the job, so somehow or other we become absorbed in that. It's too overwhelming. This is when you say the kleshas, the threefold miseries. And the threefold miseries are sometimes very miserable, right? And so they hamper everything. They divert us. They divert us. But note that it is explained that when difficulties come, that is when we will be measuring our devotion and our dedication. And it all depends on how devoted we are, and also it depends on some piety. That in times of difficulties and suffering, a pious person turns to Krishna immediately. A pious person, dedicated person, who's really, who has a lot of goodness inside, and whose faith is sufficient, in terms of difficulty, will immediately turn to Krishna, knowing that there is no material solution to material problems. Only shelter in Krishna can give us any relief. But if we are not that pious, and we are not that advanced in Krishna consciousness, then the tendency will be, I resign, I give up. So we have to see that within ourselves, and sometimes we cannot help much because it's just not there. We are not just that pious. But we need, at that time, we need to understand ourselves. And as we said, it's a matter of association. We should seek out association when we are in time of trouble. If in time of trouble we turn to Krishna, all good. But if in time of trouble we divert from Krishna consciousness, that means we need association. And we should very proactively reach out for association. Because it means we really don't have enough power of our own to turn to Krishna. And that's very humbling. It is humbling because usually we think ourselves, such great personalities. But when the trouble comes and we are unable to maintain our sadhana and to turn to Krishna, then we should understand that I am not such a great devotee after all. And instead of just giving up on our own, we should seek out the association, reach out. Nilamani Prabhu?
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji. So, sometimes something that can happen is, we can get hurt by other devotees, either by their behavior or their actions. And then we start to think that, we're trying so hard to do devotional service, but from doing devotional service, we only get hurt. Better for me just to step back and do my own sadhana, my own reading, and stay away from getting too involved in any kind of service, so.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is a great cause of lack of dedication, of obstacles to dedication. We get hurt during the course of our interactions with the devotees, either just amongst the devotees or with our authorities. Something goes wrong. We get mistreated in some way. And that is very difficult to digest, very difficult. And the lotus of the heart closes, and we don't want to interact anymore. We don't want to be part of it. So what to do in that case? When we got hurt, what to do? How do we go about this hurt when we really get affected in the association of devotees? Because when we get hurt by non-devotees, it's easy, we just cut off. Because they are non-devotees in the first place, so asat sangha tyaga. But when we get hurt in the association of devotees, it's much more difficult to deal with. Any suggestions? What do we do when we get hurt in the association of devotees? And sometimes it's something very specific, or sometimes it is just something repeated, because we are dealing with some people who have some specific anarthas that are just painful. As soon as you come close to them, immediately you get an electric shock. So how to deal with that? Ambika?
I personally think that looking for a better association would be a good solution. But if it's not always possible, then sometimes me and some of my friends have gone through some situations, and I have been told that to change the perspective inside oneself would be a good solution, because when we start to look towards Krishna and see his mercy in this kind of difficult situation, then it changes. It's easier to be grateful and to tolerate, not to give so much value on something negative.
Okay, yes, very good, very good. So 2 solutions Ambika has given. One is change association. That is possible. If a situation is looking too impossible somewhere, we may change association. We find another circle of people. And this may work. Yes, it is a possibility. Not that we are bound to stay always with the same people, with the same group. We can look for association. It's our duty to look for favorable association. So that is good. And then the other thing Ambika said is that we should change our perspective. That is very important. Because sometimes we actually carry something within us which is going to produce situations in which we will suffer. So these are the anarthas, again, something we carry within us, that we are meant to get a certain amount of disturbance. And it will come even if we change association. Even if we change association, still we will be the same person. And somehow somebody else will be an instrument to give us some trouble, because it is there, it is owed to us, and Krishna is teaching us through those difficulties, through those miseries. We have to learn to turn towards him in a deeper way, in a more internal way. We have to increase our determination, we have to increase our dedication. So running away by changing association, although sometimes it's a good solution, but at other time it's not. So changing the perspective inside is very, very important. Learning to see the Lord's mercy. And that is very difficult, but sometimes it takes us like 10 years after a hurt to realize what we learned from that and how beneficial it was for our Krishna consciousness. So it is difficult, but as devotees, we have to learn that we have to change the perspective. We have to try to see that Krishna is all good, that Krishna is allowing something to happen to us. So why? And develop the tolerance, the forgiveness, the power to forgive. That is something which is lacking many times, the power to forgive. Rajeshwar Goranga Prabhu, and then Sitarani.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Mataji, I think prayer is a is an important factor for removing this. Like if we get hurt, so then we can pray to Almighty Krishna and our Gurudev also, that so that we can take positive takeaway, like in any situation. So that we can think positively, we can take positively. We never think negatives about the devotee. So praying, or praying to Guru and Gaurango can help to be strong in that situation, I think, Mataji.
Very good. Yes. So what you are saying is turn to Krishna. Turn to Krishna. Take shelter. Pray. Pray for understanding, pray for the strength. We need certain qualities to develop in order to go through the difficulties of life in a positive way. Yes. Yes, Sitarani?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, I had a similar point, that putting all the hurt at the lotus feet of the Lord, and just approaching the Lord and putting all your hurt. And second thing is approaching a like-minded but an advanced devotee and opening your heart. So normally those devotees are able to guide us and make us see the whatever is happening in the right perspective.
Yes. Yes, very good. Sika Guhyamakyati Prichati. And yes, that is very important. Lalita, yes, Lalita Prichimai.
And also, Mataji, I heard from my senior devotee that when he was counseling to devotees who were affected by this, so he was telling that we should all remember that ISKCON is like an hospital, and all devotees here come for treatment. Everyone has a disease, and their disease shows different symptoms. And we should know that even we too have some disease which shows a certain type of symptom, and some devotees have different type of disease which shows another type of symptom. So we should always consider this fact and go, we should cooperate and go together.
Yes, yes. We are all sick. So we are considering that somebody is hurting us. So the full understanding has to be there, both of taking the responsibility for our own hurt, but also extending our understanding to others, that those who hurt, they are hurting, actually. They are suffering. They have a disease themselves, and they are hurting. Because a person who is in full good health, happy, etc., generally does not hurt others. But someone who is in difficulty hurts others. So then that if we can understand this, then we develop enough compassion to be able to bear with the difficulties that others give us. It takes compassion, it takes understanding. And yes, what do we do to others? That's a good question. When is the last time I hurt somebody? And the worst thing is that we are not always aware when we hurt. When we get hurt, we are very much aware. But when we hurt, we are not always aware. So, yes, thank you. Ratnam? Ratnam Prabhu, are you unmuted? Are you here?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji, I think we should not take anything personal. And this is the fundamental concept of Krishna consciousness, that we are not the body, we are spirit soul. So we should not take it personal, and we should move forward with proper guidance, Mataji.
Okay, your voice was cutting a little bit, but what we got is we should not take things too personally. Yes. You mean you're reminding us of the Bhagavad Gita, the soul cannot be hurt, right? It cannot be cut into pieces. It cannot be insulted. So we have to have that much detachment from our circumstances to not take it personally and just continue with our devotional service.
And we should learn from every situation, and we should move forward.
We should learn from the circumstances and move forward. That takes a lot of strength, yes. Kasturika?
And move forward.
Hare Krishna Mataji. We see in the case of the Gajendra, like he was bitten by the crocodile, and it was for 1,000 years, he's just thinking. So referring back to, taking shelter of the Shastras and referring to Shastras, that would help us to understand better the situation.
Right, that's why we are studying, that's why we are memorizing shlokas, so that in case in times of difficulty, something will come from within our heart, that we have examples in the Shastra of people who have suffered even more than us, and the strength will be coming. When we think of Prahlad Maharaj and what happened to him, we cannot imagine what actually this boy was going through. But he never turned against his father, because he always took shelter in Krishna. Yes. So here we understand the importance of reading, hearing. This will come to our help at the time of difficulty. Yaje?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I feel like a lot of time when we feel stirred up or hurt by somebody is because we are projecting some ideas out there. It's not like really the person doesn't like us or the person wants to hurt us, but we're actually creating some ideas and thoughts and projecting them onto the other side. So I found it's very helpful if we try to maintain an awareness when these kind of thoughts pop up, and see if we're just projecting something out there because of our own samskaras. I found that really helped me a lot. And another thing is I feel Krishna is always independent of anybody or anything. So there's no reason we should turn away from him just because somebody out there did something we didn't like.
Right. Yeah, what's getting hurt? A lot of the time, what's getting hurt is our ego. That's the place where it hurts, our ego. Somehow we feel disrespected. We feel neglected. We feel we are not given enough importance, like that. And so, yes, we have to see what is actually hurting. Good. So these are some, so this is, we are discussing this because these things should not hamper our dedication. We have to somehow learn to face them and turn to Krishna. Okay. Anything more? What are things which can hamper our dedication? Let's go more to the area now of dedication to our service, dedication to serving Krishna. Haribol, can you, Rameshwari, I didn't ask for this. Thank you. Dedication to service. How does our dedication to service get hampered? We are in a temple or in a congregation or wherever, and we are serving. And how can our dedication become hampered? No suggestions? Everybody is so fixed up in their services.
I guess if we get to tell to do something we don't feel like to do, then
Yeah, she said, you are given a service that you don't feel like doing. Well, it's actually good what you say. Yes, that it is said that the spiritual master is expert at engaging the devotees in the way that in things that they can actually do. So sometimes we are requested to do some service which is just doesn't match with us. It doesn't match with our nature. It doesn't match with our circumstance, and especially with our nature. So that makes it very difficult to do the service. Yes. And so it can happen that the service is not the right one. It doesn't match our nature, and we are not that transcendental that we can just do anything. Although theoretically, in Krishna consciousness, we should be ready to do anything, do the needful, it's called. We should be ready to do the needful. But we also do have a conditioning, and there are certain things that we do better than others. There are certain things that we love doing, and there are certain things we just don't like doing, or we cannot do well. So if we are kept for too long doing things which we are incapable of doing properly, or that we don't like to do, so yes, this may cause some difficulty. So therefore, our responsibility as individuals, when we are engaging others in service, to always try to see whether the service is matching with their psychophysiological nature, and so that there is a maximum, chance that they will be fully engaged, because service means engagement of all our propensities. We engage our propensities in the service of Krishna. So first we should know what the propensities are and then engage. Occasionally we can engage someone or be engaged against our propensities to do the needful. But in the long term, we will be much more inclined to serve. It will be easier to serve if we serve according to our propensities. Yes, good, very good point.
Hare Krishna Mataji,
Yes.
it's willpower and the blessing of spiritual master you can continue service in any circumstances.
Okay, so here is Praveen, Purnamasi Priya. So she says it's a lack of willpower, and what the dedication to the spiritual master, the mercy, the mercy of the Guru. Yes, if the
whatever happens to me, but I don't discontinue service since I've been in ISKCON or even before other sadhanas. Don't discontinue service, because one has to do rest of the material things if they have to, but then it becomes spiritual. So I have been continuing without fail.
Very good, very good. That is Purnamasi Priya. Vyavase Atmika Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana. Yes. So it's wonderful. It's so wonderful to have that determination. And it's so wonderful when the determination is unbroken. But for many devotees, it's not that obvious to continue under all circumstances. So anyone else? What are some of the things which can hamper our dedication to our sadhana? Or our dedication in general, our dedication to Krishna consciousness, yes, our dedication to the spiritual master. What are some things which can hamper us? Ambika?
I don't know anyone like a good example or anything like that, and it's quite horrible, but I have heard those stories where devotees have got married and the husband has been like sexually inclined and abusive, and that's been very harmful for the lady then. Yeah. Destroying.
Yes, okay, so that's part of, in one sense, mistreatment. You get mistreated, you enter into some relationship which is abusive. Okay, so this is a very extreme situation, but yes, sometimes it breaks the... So this is a point here, not just in terms of the abuse, but it is one of these points here where actually we get disappointed with the behavior of a devotee, because that is there. Here we say that that person will lose the dedication to Krishna consciousness because of being abused, in this case by a husband. And the idea was that I married that person because he was a devotee. So sometimes when we see devotees in all different kinds of circumstances who misbehave, the misbehavior of the devotees, then we lose faith in all the devotees. That how can a devotee behave like this? This is a very great cause of the loss of dedication. This is a very, very strong cause of loss of dedication. In fact, it is said that most of the people who lose faith in God, how did they lose faith in God? It's because of the misbehavior of the devotees, of those who are so-called godly. And this happens in all kinds of settings, in all religious movements. Whether it is the Christian clergy, for example, we hear of misbehavior of priests, misbehavior in Vaishnavism of gurus, misbehavior like this of husbands, misbehavior of whatever, of a temple president, of authorities, and devotees in general. They are supposed to be godly. And in our mind, we have this fixed that godly means all good, they can't do anything wrong. They're, we have an image. And then suddenly the image is broken. that person starts behaving like a complete crook, becomes abusive, or we hear of fall downs, that somebody is having a wonderful position as a spiritual leader, counselor, so many things. And then one day, poof, that person is gone, misbehaving. That person has run away with one of their counselees, or that person has somehow been found to do something really out of the four regulative principles. So we become disappointed. We become disappointed, not just in that person, but in Krishna consciousness. Our faith that it's working is what do you say, broken. Maybe it's not working after all. How can a person who is chanting, who has been in the movement for so long, suddenly display that kind of behavior? So that is very disappointing. And this puts a real, very heavy responsibility on each and every one of us, that we should never become a cause of disappointment for others, that by our own misbehavior, we can destroy the faith in Krishna consciousness of other people. Yeah, this is something that plays a very great role. There are many people who have left our movement because of witnessing misbehavior, misconduct of either leaders or devotees in general. So, of course, in the case of the like this domestic abuse, two things: that the person gets too hurt to actually pursue spiritual life, becomes absorbed in the hurt, and then there is that disappointment that, you know, this is supposed to be a devotee, and look how devotees behave. We generalize, look how devotees behave. So that is, so that we lose the faith in the entire process. So this is a very heavy one. Yes, very heavy. So it's a call for us on our own to be very responsible and not to display any bad behavior. Okay, so yes. Anyone else? Anything else that can hamper our dedication? Sometimes the lack of support. We need some support in our devotional service, in our sadhana, but particularly now we are looking at the service. We need some support. And the support is not coming. That also, if we are very strong, we should just turn to Krishna and we should find the help somehow. But not everyone is that resourceful. Most devotees need support. They need to be given certain circumstances within which they can function. They need to be given the resources. They need to be helped, assisted in their service. And then they can move forward. And if they are left alone, they drown. So this is an important discussion because we should be ready. Now we are ready. After having this discussion, we know from what side it can come. And we know that none of these things should stop us. Like Purnamasi Priya said, none of these things should stop us. These are all obstacles. And Prabhupada told us how Maya will test us. Maya will test us. Prabhupada was saying that when we start practicing devotional service, he likened it to a prisoner who is trying to escape from the jail. We're digging a tunnel or jumping the wall. Somebody is trying to escape from the jail. And so as soon as that person is detected, immediately all the lights go off. And there is a huge endeavor from the jail, staff to stop that person from escaping. So we have declared war against Maya by coming to Krishna consciousness. And as soon as we are well engaged in sadhana, we are well engaged in service, we have studied on the path, there will be obstacles. So we have to be ready for that and take them as a test that you have to pass, that no, I shall not stop. I shall not stop my sadhana. I shall not stop my service. I have to continue with great determination. Prabhupada told us that after some time, when Maya sees how determined we are, she will let us go. Her duty is to stop people who are not determined, is to stop people whose motivation is not clean. Are we doing our service for fame, for name, for gain? Or are we actually doing it as a manifestation of our gratitude towards Krishna and the spiritual master? Is it an offering of dedication, or it's just that we are getting something personal out of it? So all these obstacles are going to refine our motivation for service, so that our dedication becomes white, like the white lotus. Our dedication becomes clean. Any further thought from anyone?
Can I ask a question, Mataji?
Yes, Yaji.
I'm very much a beginner on the path of Krishna consciousness, but sometimes I'm a bit worried, like once I'm fully engaged in the moment, then doing the same thing day in and day out, then one day maybe my spiritual life would somehow just become my material life, doing the same thing day in and day out. Maybe one day start feeling a bit boring, then I start thinking about doing something else. Do you have any suggestions for me if I encounter that in my spiritual path?
Yes, okay, so you say dryness. There's some kind of dryness that one needs, which hampers the dedication. That dryness usually comes when we take things superficially. And we take up, our services like a material work. And we just get busy. We just get busy. If we want to maintain our dedication, it has to be based on some spiritual taste. That's the only thing the soul understands. Our motto is be happy. We are Satchidananda. So we have to derive some happiness from what we do. And that happiness comes when there is yoga, when we are in touch with the Lord. So in Krishna consciousness, we have to endeavor to have that communion with the Lord. So this is what we have to work on. Be very serious with our chanting. It's not a routine. That we are actually trying to connect with the Lord. So if we are like this sincere and serious, and at least endeavor to be sincere and serious with the service that we are doing, then we won't lose our motivation and it's not going to become dry. And of course, as we heard before, the association of the devotees is very important. We have to find those kinds of devotees who themselves have a taste, who have a motivation which is based on the taste, on the fact that they are finding happiness in Krishna consciousness. So when we meet such persons and associate with them, then we also get the taste. And wherever there is a taste, we won't give up. But if we are not deep enough, we should not forget that Krishna consciousness is spiritual life. It's not just another thing we do. It's not just another engagement that either I do this material work or maybe I could work at the temple. There's nothing like working at the temple. It's a complete different thing to dedicate one's life, or at least part of one's life, to Krishna's service. So if you act sincerely in an endeavor to connect with Krishna, to please him, then this dryness should not come. And if it comes, you should run to the devotees.
Thank you, Mataji. Sounds very reassuring. Thanks.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so now we are going to give you a little tester here. Rameshwari had given you some, the file you were trying to show. So we are giving you a little tester here. Dedication to sadhana. So everyone, please write down your answers to these questions here. We'll take a few minutes here to answer these questions as a little tester. So the first question here is, what would be some external parameters to rate dedication to sadhana? So what are external parameters to rate dedication to sadhana? Externally, what does it mean to be dedicated to sadhana? Any answer? What does it mean to be dedicated to sadhana?
Get up earlier in the morning.
Okay, so you mean perform your sadhana in the morning? Yes. And what else? Externally, what it does it look like? Somebody is dedicated to the sadhana, so what does it look like? That person is performing the sadhana in the morning. Yes. What else? We could say so. Yes.
Krishna Mataji, getting inspiration by other devotees who are very dedicated in the sadhana.
Okay, so associate with people who are dedicated to sadhana. Yes, that is good. Complete the sadhana. Complete the sadhana. Some people have some vows that they will not eat before they have completed their sadhana. So these are some external parameters for rating a dedication to sadhana. Being very regular, completing, reaching out when there is some difficulty, getting the association of those who are dedicated, and so on. So you can rate yourself in these parameters and see, how am I performing in regard to these parameters? Am I excellent? Am I good? Average? Poor? Very poor? You have to rate. So you can do that now, or you can do that later. But I would like you to do that. It's very useful. Then there is another question. What would be some internal parameters to rate dedication to sadhana? What would be some internal parameters? I would say, for example, attention, to pay attention to the chanting. That's very internal. So one thing is you manage to sit, but the next thing is, are you being attentive? That's internal. Like, for example, for devotees who live in a temple, they have to sit for japa. Otherwise, no breakfast. Otherwise, no this, no that. So they have to sit there. So they are sitting there somehow or other. But what is happening inside? So externally, there are some parameters, and internally, there are also some parameters. And that what are we doing during the japa session? What are we doing during sadhana? Are we just taking it easy and just dreaming about something else? And then like Jai Ram, 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 and in the meantime, you are thinking about all kinds of other things. So there is no dedication. Internally, there is a problem. So dedication to sadhana. Discipline comes under this dedication to sadhana. So how are we performing? Let us see some other question here. Rameshwari, can you pull that down? Yes, on a scale from 1 to 10, what is the current level of the sadhana? You can circle that number. And then you have to think, what are the factors that currently hamper my dedication to sadhana? Again, there may be external factors, and there may be internal factors. External factors may be, oh, well, I don't have any association. It may be, well, I'm sick, I have fever, cough, cold, corona, very difficult. It could be the temple is very far away. So like that, external factors. We went through so many obstacles. Somebody just hurt me, somebody offended me. So these are causing some troubles. And then there are some internal factors that are there, including this, that I suffer from the impact of the hurt. And now my mind is going in all directions and refuses to focus on the chanting. So you please fill up this form sometime during the day. We will be sending you, our Rameshwari will be sending you 2 forms. One is about the sadhana and one is about the service. And here you see there is a question about personal steps that you can take to increase your dedication to the sadhana or to the service, and 2 different things. So what are some steps that you can take to increase the dedication? And what you have to set in motion in order to accomplish these goals. So you will be receiving these forms today, and I would highly suggest that or recommend that you take it seriously and you go through them, and that will help you in making a little progress in that direction. Ambika?
I was just thinking of ways to improve. Then can we use something like a little meditation, mindfulness, something like this? Or, what would be the best way to improve, for example, attentiveness?
Yes, what is very good to improve attentiveness is because the mood has to be there. But there are many things. One is the environment. You can sit next to Tulsi, or you have to be in a place which is very quiet, or you have to be in the association of devotees. So these things help, but the mood with which we chant, that is very important. So to increase the concentration and so on, it is good to read something before the japa.
Hare
It's
Krishna
good
Mataji.
to read something which is going to give inspiration. Yes, Purnamasi.
Studying the Bhagavad, it really helps, because when you see when you're chanting and your face of Krishna comes in front of you, and that is really, because every day you study the Bhagavatam, it really has helped.
Good. So
because all the pastime of Krishna, and when if any mind deviates from the, at least Krishna comes in front.
Good. So this is the recommendation from Purnamasi Priya, that we study the Bhagavatam, read the Bhagavatam. That's ongoing. So you are lucky, because that's what you are doing, most of you. And even those who are in Bhakti Sadachara, they are studying not exactly the Bhagavatam, but they are also fixing their mind on the studies. They're studying Prabhupada Lilamrita. They can think of Prabhupada, and they are studying various aspects of Krishna consciousness. So yes, the study will help us focus the mind, because it will give us some subject of meditation, and it will fill our mind with Krishna. Yes. So reading something before chanting, during chanting, it is recommended even that if during the chanting something goes wrong and the mind is so uncooperative, one should actually stop. You stop chanting, take a book, read something inspiring, and then continue. And many times it's very effective. So who will fill up these forms today? Are we determined to fill up these forms today? Well, I have one in the temple room here. Please fill up these forms and try to work on it. It is important. Lila Madhuri Lalita, is that you want to say something, or you are dedicated to fill up the form? While we are studying, it is a very good time to improve our sadhana and to improve our dedication to service, because the reading is very supportive. It is a time when we can make a lot of spiritual advancement. Yes, Lila Madhuri Lalita.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, these questions I had quite a long time, but I had been hearing continuously from all senior devotees the same answers what I heard from you also today. But sometimes what happens, theoretically I know, sometimes as a preacher I tell others also to do it, but practically when it comes, it is very, very difficult to follow. Like every day I struggle while chanting about a devotee. My mind will be thinking about a devotee who was hurting me, or some attachment. Due to some attachment, I might have got some pain. So that will really disturb. Though I do everything, that I sit in front of Prabhupada, I visit the temple for Mangalarati, I chant by sitting in front of Prabhupada with association of devotees, but still, sometimes mind is disturbed a lot. I don't know how to come out of it.
Yes, it is very sticky sometimes, especially when there is a hurt. So you have to have the faith in the holy name and try to be attentive, because attentiveness is the key. When we are attentive to the holy name and we actually hear, the holy name will have a lot of effect. And if we do not manage to be attentive, then it's going to take a very long time. Very, very long time. And now if you have nuts like this in your head because of, or in your heart because of some hurt with devotees, it is good to speak with somebody. You speak and it goes out. Because if you don't speak to anyone, it just keeps roaming inside without any solution. So you speak it out, and then you'll see that some relief will come. When things are roaming in the mind, they look like big elephants. But as soon as you speak them out, they lose their power and they lose their size. You see that actually it's not such a big thing. It looks big as long as you keep it inside. When you take it out, it looks less big. And then you can objectively think of how to tackle the issue. So don't keep things inside your mind. You have to speak it out to someone, you have to discuss it, and somehow move forward.
Yes, Mother. Thank you.
All right, so we'll be sending you those two questionnaires today, and you please work with it if you wish, but you work with it and try to see how you can, what are the difficulties? Sometimes, like Madhuri is saying, it's just inside, it's not coming out. It has to come out. It has to come out means we have to become aware very objectively of what the problems are. And then we try to work on them through prayer, through attentiveness, through Goyamakyati Prichati, talking to devotees. We have to try to make our way forward and not just stay in the same place. It's not good to stay in the same place. So, because ultimately stay in the same place is not possible. It's either we move forward or backwards. If you don't speak to anyone, or if you don't try to tackle the obstacles that have come, then what will happen is we will lose our dedication. So that we cannot just leave it as it is. We have to do some work on it. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your attention. And thank you, Purnamasi Priya, for the comments coming from a super determined person. We take your comments very seriously. Purnamasi Priya is the eldest, the most senior of our students, and she's very amazing, chanting 24 hours on Ekadasi, going on Vrindavan Parikrama, worshipping her deities every day. She's amazingly dedicated and strong. So if anybody is lacking some dedication, strength, you can give her a call. And
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
she's the unbroken determination, as she said, I never stop, I never stop. So this, we should also be like this. Don't stop, just keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop chanting. Don't stop endeavoring to progress. Don't stop your service ever. And so if there is difficulty, you have to find some solution, a little adjustment, either internal or external, but don't stop. Don't stop.
Mataji, can I make a comment?
Yes, Lalita Pichimai.
Mataji, when I was studying Bhakti Shastri, one of the teacher, he told this very encouraging words. This was very encouraging towards like to my sadhana especially. What the teacher told is, Krishna, he doesn't count how many times your mind flips, but he counts how many times you get it back. So he sees Krishna, they see only this one. So you should be very intelligent and clever enough to bring your mind very tactfully back to mantra. So this was really very encouraging for me to continue with my sadhana, because usually the mind is not very focused. It usually often it flips, but these words were really encouraging.
Yes. Krishna sees the endeavors, the positive endeavors that we make. That is true. Disturbance is expected. In the material world, disturbance is always expected. It will come from all directions. So that is expected. But how we respond by always trying to remain fixed in Krishna consciousness, that is what pleases Krishna. Yes. All right, so we will stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.